Well, hello and welcome to In Conversation,
a series presented by Arts from Home featuring local Toronto creators. I'm Alyssa.
I'm Jaya.
And I'm Savannah, and these are the personal stories behind professional and community success.
Yazmin Monet Butcher is a Toronto-based freelance creative director, designer, and illustrator, and is currently working as the visual editor for Refinery29 Canada. Not to mention, she's a writer, comedian, founder, visual artist, and graphic designer, all the while a voracious feminist and badass.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome to our show.
Thanks,
and we're so happy to have you to talk about everything that you're doing. So to get started, can we start from the very beginning? Tell us about your growing up. What are some of your early memories of art and creativity, and how did that lead to your post-secondary path and beyond to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I grew up in a really small town outside of Toronto, so Cambridge, Ontario. I was born in Toronto. My parents moved there and raised us there. And my mom's an artist herself. So from an early age, there was art all over our homes. My middle name is Monet after Claude Monet. So art is like a big part of our lives. And we would always be doing like arts and crafts. My mom would always have like fashion television on TV. So that I was into art very, very early on. But the only thing I really knew about art was, in terms of profession, was like you're either an illustrator for children's books or you're a fashion designer. And my mom wanted to be a fashion designer when she was younger. And I think that really like influenced me. So I applied to Ryerson's fashion design program out of high school. And I got waitlisted, which like broke my heart. I was just like, so like, what else am I going to do? And I realized, okay, I need to develop my skills more. So I went to this one-year program at Conestoga College, which is in Waterloo, developed my skills. And then I decided to reapply, but for the fashion communications program, which I got early acceptance for, but like, thank God, because I would have died if I was in the fashion design program. Like second year of that program, fashion communications, I realized I don't even love fashion. I just had no idea what else was out there. And being in the fashion communications program, we learned about photography and creative direction and like styling. And I got to try everything with internships. And then it was there that I realized I loved graphic design. Didn't know a whole lot about it because they really didn't teach us a lot. But I was interested.
Art school.
Right? I was just like, okay, well, that's cool, I guess. And I really love film and movies. So when I graduated, I got an internship at a startup production company as a graphic designer, under the guise that like I would be working under a senior designer or something, but that was not the case. So I had to figure everything out by myself, which was so hard, but I'm so thankful because everything I know, I've taught myself. And yeah, that's then so I worked there for 2 years. I actually got depressed. Like I had never been so sad before in my life, like working somewhere and there was no like chance for growth. Our work environment wasn't healthy. And my parents were like, don't quit until you have something lined up. And I was like, I just have to, like, I am not happy. And I quit. And then the week after I got my first huge freelance project. And that just like started me off freelancing and designing.
Amazing. Yeah, you Jaya mentioned several of your different, the breadth of your skills is quite wide. So, I mean, you're setting me up great for this next question, which is just about being versatile. And it's something that seems to have paid off for you to be able to do multiple different skills within the umbrella of creativity and arts. And it sounds a little bit like that you said that's something you had to teach yourself, but also is that something innately? Are you naturally very hardworking? Are you naturally organized? What is the balance there?
Like I've always wanted to do everything.
Right.
Always, like from a young age, it's like, oh, I want to do photography, but I also love to write, and like I want to sing and I want to act, and like I don't know if I'm good at it, but I want to try it. And then if I am good at it, then like fuck yeah, that's amazing.
Right.
But I remember I had an ex-boyfriend who was like, why do you want to do everything? Like, wouldn't you rather be good at just one thing, like really good? And it's like, no, because I don't have to be good at one thing. I can do multiple things, and I'm not going to half-ass it. I'm going to like put my all into it because how I always saw everything was, if I'm sending it out, if it's a written piece or a design piece, like my name is on it.
Mm-hmm.
Before I even knew what personal branding was, I was just like, that's my name. So if it looks like shit, people are going to be like, shit, Yazmin, you know? So
Right.
I had that from early on, and I've always been very hardworking and organized. I mean, if you look around my apartment, like there are notes everywhere
Right.
because I visually need to like see shit. So it's like a messy organization.
Yeah, that works for you.
Yeah, that
Amazing.
works for me. But it's like all about balance because I do want to do everything, but it's like I'm still learning about balance. I mean, relationships have gone down the toilet because it's like I'll prioritize work before like eating, before like drinking water, before sleep. And it's just like I had to realize like this quarantine has helped me realize how important it is to have both, like a social life, professional life, everything. So yeah, balance is good.
Amazing.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that like it's this versatility seems to be like a reoccurring theme a little bit for us. Like a lot of people, a lot of the creative people we've been talking to have really been like pushing for that. And I think it's great for us to hear. And I think it's great for other people to hear because I feel like a lot of times focus is always on like the thing, like focus on one thing, master that one thing. You go to university, you focus on only one program kind of thing. Whereas it's like, you can actually do multiple things. You can major in multiple things. You can try multiple things and they don't even have to be related. So I like to hear that that's something you're doing and you're actually like pushing and being successful in it. And then actually like showing you're able to be successful in 2, 3, 4, 5 things and you're not half-assing it like you said.
Right.
So I like that we're kind of we're pushing that and we're showing other people that reoccurring theme because it is inspiring to see that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's possible. It's just like whatever works for you though. Like I feel like because of social media, people feel like they have to do a million things. And it's like if that doesn't work for you, like you don't have to do that. I'm just the kind of person where it's like I just can't sit still for too long. So I know it's like if I'm not like drawing, it's like okay, like I started stick and poking, and I'm like,
Oh, amazing.
I love tattoos, and I'm like, well, I guess I could do it myself.
Right.
So it's like little things, but if it doesn't work for you, you don't feel like you have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I definitely relate as a musician, like the more control you can have from the process from the beginning in terms of like your artwork and then your, song selection and then the production, like because it seems like you have a really strong creative vision. So I understand wanting that control over the full process. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been so excited to hear like you're the kind of person that like can't sit still and like has to do it all because I just feel that within me so hard. Especially as a kid, I was like, I will become a tap dancer and a actor and a singer and a magazine director and an ice cream shop owner. And like it was I was a really funny kid that way. Like I would just, and it's so interesting as a kid because you're so free. There's like no judgment really towards your, how you see the world. And like, you can just be freely like whatever. And this quarantine's actually really helped me connect back to that inner child. Like I show these girls, I'm pretty sure I showed you guys that doll I made.
Yeah.
Like, so random, but like
You made a doll?
Yeah.
I made a doll.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like it's just been super fun to just like connect with these like really childlike things, but it's also like expanded like my world in the sense of hey, like I can explore all these different avenues. And so it's super inspiring to hear that you're kind of like you're like, this is what I am and this is what I need to do, and as you said, I'm going to do the best in every area. And that's like that's your path that you create for yourself, and it's so inspiring.
Oh, thanks.
I did want to like, I mean, this is like a couple sentences ago, but you did touch upon like mental health, and I just think mental health in the arts is a huge topic. And I know a lot of people who've gone through art school who have developed mental illnesses, and some people who've had to leave school because of it. And also other people like similar to your story that have been in like a creative environment but it was toxic. So it's such a interesting like juxtaposition, because you're like doing what you love,
Right.
but it's a bad place to be. So in terms of, you know, kind of taking leaving that toxic environment, how, and like kind of I mean I want to open it up to you, like how did you like help your own mental health, and what has that journey looked like for you?
Yeah, it's been tough, honestly. Like, I remember I left that job, and I started freelancing. But like I said, like I could kind of, I'm very independent. I love to be alone. So I can kind of silo myself away, and I could be locked in a room for like days and not talk to anyone and be fine. But it's like, I'm not like mentally okay. So it's like, once I was freelancing, it's like, it still wasn't a healthy work environment. But it was too hard to like realize that, because I'm like, well, when am I going to get my next paycheck? Like, I have to say yes to everything, even if I don't like it. Like, I'm just going to have to say yes. And I just kept saying yes to every little thing. And then it got to that point where I was like, oh my God, like I have to get a 9 to 5 again, because I need some sort of routine where I can turn it off, because freelance is so hard. Like, it's not 9 to 5, it's like 9 to 9 to 12 to, and you don't have weekends off. Like, you're answering emails on the weekends. So that was really difficult. And then I worked again in like a few design offices, and it was the same thing, where like the work environment, the people, the culture was just so terrible. And then I got to the point where I'm like, well, I just have to tell these people, like, this is why I'm leaving, just so you know. And my last design job, which was 2 years ago, it was like, it's one of the best design studios in Toronto. And I was like, oh my God, like I work here. And my first day was absolutely terrible. And I was just like, holy shit. Like, one, I live on the east side, so it takes me an hour to get there. So I'm having to get up super early for a job I don't even like, trek for an hour, be there until 5:30, and then come all the way back home. So it was a 3-month contract, and I didn't go back, so they asked me to come back. And I said from that moment on, I'm like, I'm not working for a company unless I'm in control. And I like work with people who are open and kind and like joyful and friendly. And then the Refinery29 position came about, and it is literally my dream job. I am the only designer. My team is amazing. We're so small. And it's a dream come true, but it's been such a struggle to get here. And even now, like, I'm meditating every morning. I'm like taking time for myself. I started journaling this year. So it's constantly a work in progress, but I feel so much better today than I did yesterday, or than I did like 2 months ago. It's just, yeah, it's becoming like more self-aware, I think, and acknowledging like, okay, like this is not okay. Like, these are the patterns I do on a daily, and like, this is how I can try to fix it. But it's been tough.
Wow, that's, yeah, it's so true. It is like such a journey, just self-reflecting on what your patterns are.
Yeah.
What are the toxic things that you're creating for yourself in your life, and you know, working towards getting aware, and then helping yourself in whatever way. So yeah, that's amazing that you're journaling and meditating. Like, that's exactly
also
the
therapy.
Oh yeah.
Therapy
has saved my life. Like, last week I had a breakthrough, and I was like, yes, girl.
Yes.
It was just like,
oh my God,
so
that's
good.
so good. Yeah. Oh my God, therapy, just like, everyone just needs to be in therapy.
Everybody.
It's like
Like,
my
I'm
motto. Like, anyone who's just like, oh, it doesn't work for me, I'm like, okay, we'll find a new therapist, girl, because you need it.
Like, I'm
you
like,
would do the same thing for a doctor, so
exactly.
you know, like, or whatever, physiotherapist. So why not for your brain, right? Like,
why not? I think people are afraid. Obviously, it is scary. Like, it's not like I enjoy starting off like sitting there and being like, hey, girl. But it is like, once you get into it, you're just like, wow, I can't shut up. And just talking to someone about it is great.
And I think there's more resources than people think there are in terms of making it financially accessible. Like, I know there's a lot of support So
Yeah.
worth investigating.
Totally.
From your Instagram and from the bit of research that I've done on you, you have a very distinct personal brand, which is incredible. And then obviously you're working for Refinery29, which has its own very distinct brand. So can you talk about the process of you finding your voice, and what the crossover is between your personal brand and your professional brand? And is it good to integrate those? Is it good to separate them? Like you talked about your name being on art and what that does. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's so funny. Like when I saw this question, I was just like, my entire life I've struggled with like my actual voice, like speaking up for myself or asking for things that I need. But creatively, like I feel like my voice is really strong, because I know who I am, and I feel like I try to bring that into my work. Like I always kind of want it to be like fun or funny or like have some sort of like weird humor to it. But I think it's really important for me anyways to mesh the two. I'm not like, you know how people are sometimes different with their family and they are with their friends. Like I'm the same way with everybody. So for me, it's like easy to have my personal brand and my professional brand be the same. And I think it's great. I think people like honesty. They want to see like who you are. I mean, I understand if your personal brand is like, you know, you don't really want to put your personal life out there and your professional brand is like very flashy. Like if you need a Sasha Fierce, like do that. But for me, I think it's really important to just be myself all the way through. Even at Refinery29, like I try to do different styles of artwork to make it seem like there's more than one designer there.
Right.
I think it all still kind of has a similar tie through it. But yeah, I think like it took me a while, I think like trial and error, just personally to find my own brand. It wasn't like I posted something and didn't get a lot of likes.
Right.
Does it feel good to me? If not, then like that doesn't work. It's always just about me. I don't really do it for other people.
Right. It's great that you found a place that you can work that allows you to mesh those worlds together, because probably a lot of the discomfort in previous jobs was not being able to express that.
1000%.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm tying it to a little bit of the serious stuff, but if there are any challenges that you've faced being a Black woman in the creative industry or in the Toronto arts community, would you mind sharing that? And there might not be any, but if you have, is there something that you've kind of felt or noticed being in your profession?
Right. Yeah. So what I feel like, I know I'm like light skinned, so I already have like more of a privilege than other Black women who are darker than me. So I haven't dealt with anything like face to face, which I'm like so thankful for. But I mean, I think the thing that I've dealt with is like my name, which is not even it's just a different name. So sending emails for me, I'd be like, I know once I sign this, I'm already like other. They're already like, who is this person? Like what, you know? I always kind of felt that way. Now, and I used to always sign with like Yaz, which I just felt was just like easier. And I read something somewhere where it's like, or no, sorry, I met someone. I started taking ballet classes, and I met this guy, and he was like, what's your name? I was like, Yaz. And he's like, what's your full name? And I was like, oh, Yazmin. And he's like, oh yeah, like I like whitened my name too. Like my name's like Ray, but it's like Riyadh. And it's just like, oh, like I didn't even realize that I was doing that. For me, it was just like, oh, you know, it's just like cute or whatever. But, and I don't think of it like in that way because people still call me Yaz, but it was interesting that it's like subconsciously, I think I might have just been like, it's easier for you to say Yaz. So just say Yaz, like, so you don't fuck it up.
Right.
But yeah, I haven't dealt with anything in person. I'm thankful for.
Yeah, and that's great. Like I asked that question, but typically like the favorable response is to hear, no, I haven't had any bad experiences, because we don't want that, you know. We don't, like, I'm happy that that's not an experience you face. I'll be honest, it's not something I've necessarily faced in the workplace either, so I can definitely attest to that. Now I know that's not everyone else's story or their experience, but it is nice and reassuring to also hear the side of, no, I actually haven't experienced this. There are, and you're still aware, but you know, it is a little bit refreshing, because we do hear a lot of the, oh yeah, and I had this and affirmative action and blah, blah, blah. But you know, it's also nice to hear that, like, no, I didn't experience anything that crazy, but there's other things like on, I don't want to say a smaller scale, but just in a little bit of a different scale. Right. So thank you. I appreciate the honesty there and hearing that.
Just to jump off that quickly, Refinery29 is a women-driven corporation or entity. I don't know what you'd call it. So that's probably, in terms of, often gender in the arts is also a thing, but it seems like you've got a really amazing group of women around you. And in any experience, I mean, I'm not like I'm going looking for challenges, but that's something that I've personally experienced in music school, is very male dominated. So, but it's nice that you're in a place that's, and I was just feeling very you know, a lot of positivity scrolling through the Refinery29 site, and just that energy. I started an all women band this year, and it was my first experience playing music with only women, and that is just something that I had never experienced, and I will never take for granted, because it's very rare. So this sounds like a similar environment, and it's just a bit of a gift.
As you're very well versed on social media, and I'm just curious to know, how has your approach on sharing content changed within the last month? Because now we're in a wave that hopefully will actually last and sustain, of social media being used more for activism rather than the typical distractions that we've had. While those are still there, and the meme sharing and all that's still there, it's now really heavily being used for activism. So what is your perspective on this shift? And are you feeling that same way as well?
I love it. I think it's amazing. Like, generally, I never really posted that often on Instagram. And I think once everything sort of happened with George Floyd, I remember I was on there like every day, just trying to find as much information as possible. But then it was like also so draining. Like, I would just be sitting on my couch, like crying. And because it's like, you just go on for one thing, and then you can't get off. You're just like, wow, like the fact that we can see everything that's happening in the world is amazing. And the fact that people can share knowledge and information is incredible. And my coworker, Kathleen Newman-Bremming, she's our senior writer. And she has been so incredible with this, because she has been, you know, sharing stories, personal and those of other people, and being interviewed. And it's just like, it's so emotionally draining. And I'm so thankful for these people who are using their voices to share their stories and help educate people, and are putting themselves on the line. I think it's incredible, and I hope it continues. Like, I don't think we can ever go back. And I think we were all kind of waiting for a shift in social media. I don't think anyone expected it to be like this kind of shift, but it's incredible. And I hope it only just like continues to ramp up and change the world.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree with you. And I think also that the nice thing too is I've definitely learned, like, yes, I'm Black. I'm also Indian as well, but I'm Black, and I've learned new things. You don't know everything, even as a Black person too. So I've learned, even from like Alyssa, for example, has shared posts that I'm like, oh, damn, like, oh, I learned something new today, you know, kind of thing. So like, I think that's the other great thing. Like, people are able to actually learn through pictures, or learn through a few words here and there, which is really helpful. It's just quick little tidbits of information to get started, and then you can continue on in your own literature, your own conversations afterwards. So I'm glad you're seeing that same thing. We're also seeing that with social media, and it's been helpful for all of us too, to get started and having these conversations. And that's why we're all here too, like actually being able to talk to you about it. So yeah. Well, thank you. So what I'm going to do, sorry for quickly, I'm going to leave this on because I have another computer I'll log into just in case for the recording purposes. I'll leave it, and then I'll let you guys like take full reign, Savannah and Alyssa. They have control to record if that's okay. And I'll let you guys continue on, and then we'll connect. And thank you so much, Yazmin, for responding back to my. Yeah, it was really cool. And I loved your little thing where it was like, yeah, if you just want to talk or whatever. I was like, okay. So thank you so much.
Do you want to go ahead and talk about girls?
Yeah, I would love. I've been just scrolling on the Instagram page. It seems amazing, and curious a little bit about it.
Yeah. So Girls started when I was working at that startup production company. One of the photographers who was there, he was from Kitchener, which is close to Cambridge, and one of his friends was in the area, and he was like, I think you guys would like each other, like you guys should meet. And then we like hit it off, and it was like cool. And we're like, we should do something together. We had no clue what it was going to be. But yes, this is like pretty soon after I had graduated. And at that point, a lot of my classmates had found it difficult to find jobs in the creative industries. I mean, like we spent 4 years in school, we paid a shit ton of money, and now we're like, we can't find jobs. Like, this is awesome. And so I was talking to Sandra about it, and it's just like, if we can't find these jobs, why don't we just make them ourselves? And that was the whole basis of Girls, which was like, yeah, let's make our own jobs. Let's promote women who need that extra push or those extra set of eyes on them so they can blow the fuck up. And we brought together, I brought like 2 of my friends, she brought 2 of her friends who was like photographer, DJ, stylist, web designer. So we could do everything. It was like a one-stop shop. And yeah, it was incredible. We all clicked right away. And it just like how you said that you had started your all-female band, it was the first time I had ever been on set for something where every single person was a female. The lighting, the grip, everything, the sound was a female. And it was just so incredible. And we were just like, this is possible? Like, this is magic. And so I think, yeah, we started that maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And we've gone on a bit of a break now. Like, we all have full-time jobs, and it's just been it is a lot of work, especially working with your friends. I will say this. It's hard to find that line between like, you know, business and friendship. So we've gone a little, you know, like that, but I think, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's time that we start coming back to it, but slow steps. But it's been like incredible, and like the response of when we were starting and when we were doing things was so big that I know that it's something so special. So we can't just let it sit on the side there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like, even if it's not currently active, checking out the Instagram page is amazing. It's GXXRLS.
Yes.
Is that correct? And then Canada, or is it
_CA, I think.
Yeah, CA. Just, you know, there's so many holes, and like probably even more now in like the education of like parts of being a woman and sexuality and your period and all this stuff. And I just, you know, something as a young girl I would have very much appreciated.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing before Alyssa asks her final question I'm interested is you were featured in the New York Times, which is just such an incredible achievement. And as someone who's a creative person and a writer, like that must just feel amazing. Do you want to talk about that experience?
It is crazy. I was, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Practice. Like, you guys are musicians. Yeah. Okay. So so I like I do the photography for the Practice.
Amazing. I love their photos. That's so cool.
Yeah. I honestly tried to think, like, how did I even start doing that? I don't remember. Yeah. But it was one that I was there and I got an email and it said like New York Times something. And I was like, I'm not subscribed to the New York Times. And I checked my email and it was just like, would you do this piece and blah, 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 blah. And my heart stopped because I never even dreamt of being like having my work in the New York Times. Like, that was not even a thought to me. And that opened just like a world of like what I could do for myself. And then it was like, then they asked me to do it again and they asked me to do it again. And I was just like, is this a dream? What is this life? I'm just like so blessed and I'm so thankful. It's an amazing opportunity. And to see it in print, like in the newspaper of the New York Times, is just like unlike something I've ever seen or felt before.
I have shivers. Like,
it was crazy.
I don't know. To me, that's like the writer's version of Saturday Night Live or something,
right?
And
totally.
you're like, that pinnacle of achievement, and also just must be so affirming. You've been working so hard, and
it's great,
amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
No, that is amazing, and we've learned so much from you today. Like, thank you for being so gracious and insightful, and a touch of funny. I see you, a little quirk.
Yeah.
So, you know, as three, Jaya, let's assume she's here, we'll edit her in. You know, as three young women, you know, trying to make a change in our community and foster safe spaces, to be able to create our own paths and own jobs, as you said, in the creative industries. Do you have any words of advice or things that you want to see, you know, from like community leaders?
Right. I would say don't be afraid. I think especially with writing, I think I always knew I wanted to write and I was just too afraid. I don't have a background in it. And I waited so long and now I'm doing it and I'm just like, what were you afraid of? And it's okay to fail, even if you're not great at it, because then you know that's not for me. Let me try all the other things I want to try. So like, don't be afraid because you don't know, like the only thing that's stopping you from doing it is you. And you don't know how many things that you can do until you do it. And I think also just like more mentorship. For Refinery29, a writer just wrote a piece about like mentorship for women of color, having women of color mentors. I've never had a mentor, and that's something I've always looked for. Everywhere I've gone, it's never happened for me, but I just want to put out there, if anyone needs help, like don't be afraid. You like ask me for help. Like I would have loved to have had someone just to guide me in any way. So I think people in our community, I think there are quite a few more who are coming up, but I think making yourself available for those up and comers, for people who just have questions, just like, it's not that hard to answer an email. Even though it is sometimes annoying. Like sometimes I do put off responding to emails, but like I remember sending a million emails and the one response that I would get meant the world to me. So like respond to emails. People email me if you want.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's that's another thing that's been a theme, is people talking about mentorship. And we did an interview with someone from the Toronto Arts Foundation, and she has there's a very active program through the Arts Foundation about setting people up with mentors. So it's
amazing.
just an amazing. I mean, I would recommend you check it out if you're still
right.
But I also think you just being in the community, you find people
Totally
that are in your zone.
Yeah.
Beautiful advice throughout. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm so glad to now know you virtually even, and have, you know, this is the beginning of an artistic connection, which I really appreciate.
Totally into it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so we'll hopefully we'll meet in person someday. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really nice.
And good luck with all of everything.
All of everything.
Yeah.
Enjoy your week.
Yes.
Enjoy your week. Love it.
Awesome.
We will.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Take care.